the hills of Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Thursday, February 4th. That's right, LA Galaxy, MLS, MLSPA, everybody waiting with bated breath. We thought we were going to have a countdown for you. They ruined my whole night, I'll be honest. I would have rather they had the lockout coming in an hour, and we could have counted it down. I had a clock. I was ready to go for you guys. I was pumped up. We were going to drink our sorrows away as MLS just threw it all away. But you know what we got? A full show of LA Galaxy news, some MLS updates there as well. Boca may have gotten taken advantage of by Danilo Acosta, and I'm here for that. So a lot of stuff to get to, rumors included. To help me do all of it, Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, is with me as well. Eric, how's it going, buddy?
It's going great after seeing the show notes, and we've got players departing, we've got coaching staff arriving, we got kit talk, we've got DTK, the Magic Man, doing his thing. This is exciting. What a time to be alive. And we got to set the doomsday clock back 24 hours. 24
hours. We're at DEFCON 4 now, so yep. It's close. I was going to say, the last time you and I got to be together, though, Eric, we got to do a little Liga G play-by-play on Sunday night. And listen, I know we played it cool outside. Hey, everybody was thanking us for doing it and stuff like that. And then after we got done with that, we were like, that was so much fun. Can we do that again? Like, who's going to let us do it? I think this is the time to make the announcement to everybody, to all of our listeners, to everybody out there. Eric and I are throwing our hat into the ring as professional FIFA announcers. So if you need a professional FIFA announcer, Eric, for your stream, we are available for, I would say, a pretty reasonable rate. So just contact us, and we're gonna. Do you feel the same?
Absolutely. Like you said, we didn't know how it was going to go. We had our FIFA games, earlier. Was it the summer? By that time, spring, summer, it was all a blur. 2020.
Yeah,
we kind of cut our teeth there and got a few reps. But doing it live with some live interaction, even though it was digital players, it was a lot of fun. I had a great time doing that. Like you said, I was ready to do 4 more games. I was ready to just keep it going. I had my turtleneck, my gold chain, my blazer. I was feeling good. I was feeling feisty. We had some good jokes thrown in there. So I was excited. The only thing, it's unfortunate, it didn't record.
That's
so
okay.
We don't have the record of it. But like you said, that's just an incentive to go back and do it again.
Yeah, I was going to say, who hasn't recorded a podcast or a show and not hit record? I've done it, so I know that's for sure.
That's how you know you're a real podcaster. You have to do that at least once to learn your lesson, and then it doesn't happen again.
And then it doesn't happen. Yeah, I agree with that. So we'll again, just if you need us, we're here for you. Also, if you are on the live show right now, I would like to remind you that you are in Super Chat Zone, which means that you can tip us any amount of money. If you'd like to have us talk about a certain topic, if it's already in our show notes, you have to wait for our show notes. If it's something we haven't talked about, we will give you a 30-second whatever topic you sort of want to talk about, as long as it's Galaxy related and it's underneath our PG-13 zone there. So you can super chat in the live there. And if you're listening on the podcast, you should join us live at least once, every once in a while. It's more fun. We screw up. We do things, and then I never fix them. So really, it's the same show. I don't know why I was pretending like different things happen. If we screw up, it gets screwed up. I don't know what else to tell you. So
I was gonna say, if you show up early enough, you do get to see a little behind the scenes action that doesn't always make it. So that's your incentive. Show up early, stay late. In the middle, you're going to get the same show, though. You're absolutely right.
All right. Let's go to LA Galaxy news, and it is a busy, busy day of LA Galaxy news. We have some departures. We're going to start with a front office departure. Everybody calm down. It wasn't Chris Klein. I know that was what people were. I was getting messages. Oh, I thought, no, calm down and be nice. But no, we do have to talk about this a little bit. VP of Communications, Marketing, and Digital is leaving the LA Galaxy. Brendan Hannon, who was one of my contacts at PR and has been with the LA Galaxy, I think, for 7 or 8 years. I think 8 years is what he put down, is leaving the LA Galaxy. He is the guy who came up with, and his team. I shouldn't just say it was him, but most notably, in my mind at least, is the Lion Los Angeles, the whole promo video for that with a Lion and Zlatan Ibrahimovic whenever that was produced, and he did all of that over in England whenever that happened. He also was behind and helped with the prank that they put on David Beckham as well, with the statue unveiling. I mean, any announcement that has happened and over these times basically has Brendan Hannon's teams and his fingerprints all over it. So, a guy who really did try to change, I think, the way that the LA Galaxy did marketing, did PR, sort of looking at the digital, put some really interesting, great teams together, and it's been, it's been a wild ride with him. So 8 years, and he's departing the club. I know lots of people are sort of speculating on this, and as a news person myself, the speculation from what we've heard is Brendan's moving on. He wants to figure out what else he wants to do, and I think he's been in professional sports for 13 years. That's a long time to be focused on anything, and so maybe a little brain break for him. Who and it should be pointed out, Brendan is a talented writer, sort of poet guy. I mean, he's got some talents. The dude is talented. So for a guy who I worked with a lot, and this goes with the PR team of Vicky Mercado and Chris Glidden, Chris Hibble before he left as well. I've been, you deal with these people on a regular basis. I mean, if you're Chris Glidden, I talk to Chris Glidden more than I talk to my wife. So, those are the things. But from everybody here at Corner of the Galaxy, I know Larry, and certainly with Kevin as well. We wish Brendan the best and hope he lands in a good place, and wherever he goes, I'm sure it'll be fun and exciting.
Yeah. Shout out to Brendan, and you just know sometimes those front office jobs, they're behind the scenes. They're not, front of the table. They're not the players on the field, so they can often go unnoticed, and you don't necessarily always give them their due. But I think one of the benefits is of having a tuned in Galaxy community like we do. If you're deep into the Galaxy like we are, and a lot of our listeners are, the name Brendan Hannon, and that him and his team are responsible for some of the slogans. You're welcome Los Angeles with Zlatan. The Since '96 marketing campaign, a lot of that comes from that team. And so regardless of how you feel about the Galaxy product on the field, I think from a communication side and a marketing side, you can say that the Galaxy have been pretty successful under Hannon's helm. So I big tip of the hat to him and the team, and best wishes to him moving on. So it is kind of cool that that's, I don't know how it is with media and other teams around the league that, someone in that position gets recognized on a podcast or on a media outlet. But just the fact that we're a close group and we see those things and we appreciate those things. So tip of the cap to him and the team.
Yeah, I was going to say, any guest that ever appears on this show has to go through the PR department if they're an LA Galaxy member or a coaching member for the most part. There's only one person who's sort of exempt from that, and it's because he's a grown man. It's Dennis Kloese, and Dennis sort of can come and go where he wants and as he pleases. So, but as far as what happens on the show and when we get guests, it's working with Brendan's team, and Brendan put that team together. So I remember whenever he came on, I remember Justin Pearson whenever he left, and just listen, 8 years is not a small amount of time, and certainly through the growth of this podcast, Brendan and his team at PR, all of which who are wonderful, lovely people, and I love them all, and I miss them a lot too. Usually in the off season, you're like, oh, I miss you guys, and then you get to see them. And pandemic has really sort of limited those things. So anyway, to Brendan, best wishes, best of luck, and hit us up whenever you land. I'm sure you'll see him around. He's not going to go quietly. Wherever he goes, it won't be quiet. Brendan can do the smooth thing, but he's just not quiet. He's smooth and loud if that makes some sense. He makes his presence known. So we go from that goodbye from Brendan Hannon to another goodbye, one that we knew was coming. And one that made 100% sense. It's been sort of on the cards for a while, and that's that David Bingham said goodbye to Galaxy fans. Now, whenever Jonathan Bond was brought in, and you had Jonathan Klinsmann resign, and then you still have Vom Steeg, and you have Lopez down there as well. You had 4 Galaxy goalkeepers on a first-team roster, and you expect that 2 of those guys are probably going to spend some extended time down with LA Galaxy 2, and that you're going to have 2 keepers, and one of those guys will go from Galaxy 2 to Galaxy 1 up to the senior team, back and forth. But you're not going to have 5 Galaxy goalkeepers. That's not a thing that's probably going to happen. Watch, they'll sign one tomorrow. But having said that, and looking at all this, we knew that David Bingham was sort of the odd man out here. He was a guy who got brought in and, played a ton of games. Here, let me give you his stats to finish, Eric, and then I'll let you talk about David Bingham. Finished with the record of 34, 35, and 16. That's 85 games for the Galaxy. 7,650 minutes played, 19 shutouts, 314 saves, because, the Galaxy defense was like Swiss cheese. 154 goals allowed. He finishes, however, with a 1.81 goals against average, so almost 2 goals per game. And so David Bingham, by the way, finishes second all-time in regular season games for the LA Galaxy, which is a crazy thing to think about whenever you think of guys like Jaime Pinedo, whenever you think of guys like Donovan Ricketts, Josh Saunders. It was his ability basically to be ready for every single game and to play every single game whenever he came here that sort of gets him that 85 games. Now, it's a mixed bag for me. And that's where I'm sort of at with David Bingham. I don't think everything was his fault. I don't think his 1.81 goals against, average is something where you sit there and say, oh yeah, Eric, he deserved to give up 2 goals per. That wasn't it. The defense and the defensive scheme has been horrible, and we've talked about that so much. But where does Bingham sort of sit with you in terms of overall LA Galaxy things? I mean, it's interesting to say he's second overall, Eric, but that doesn't put him into place.
That's the part that's surprising the most, is when you said he was second all time in appearances. That's just a shocking stat, given that when you think about LA Galaxy, especially the goalkeeping position, I think Kevin Hartman probably first and foremost in a lot of people's hearts and minds, and then obviously on the stat sheet. So when you put Bingham at number 2, it is kind of shocking, but it does make sense with the amount of years that he was with the club. It's unfortunate for David Bingham that he came into the club in their darkest days. I think 2 out of the 25 seasons, the bottom 2 worst seasons that the Galaxy have ever played, David Bingham was between the sticks for both of those seasons. So whenever you have historically 2 of the worst seasons in franchise history, and you're the number 1 goalkeeper for that goals against average is going to go against you. And you're right, it's not 100% his fault, and it doesn't all go on Bingham, but unfortunately that just leaves a black mark on his record. And I think when we look back in history and we look back at all-time goalkeepers, that appearances may stick out as like an outlier, but I don't think he's going to be remembered as a Galaxy great, especially when you figure in his ties to San Jose and that rivalry there, and then that his time here was not exactly always successful. There's just left a little bit of a bad taste. So unfortunate for Bingham, not that he's a bad guy or has got bad guys going on. He just came in when the franchise was at a low time and didn't put in performances that were truly noteworthy and made you think, wow, we're fortunate to have someone like him as a number 1. So that's the unfortunate part. But someone with his level of experience and how long he's been in the league, I think he's definitely gonna land on another team. When he posted his goodbye on Instagram, he did say, "See you soon, LA." So I don't know if that was cryptic or if that was just he knows that he's got a job somewhere at some point. It's gonna cross paths, with the team again. So that's where I leave it. Bittersweet. Way to let him go with Bond, Klinsmann, Vom Steeg, Lopez, all those goalkeepers. You knew the writing was on the wall that he wasn't going to come back, so this just made it official. So you weren't expecting him to come back, and then it's not like hate to kick the guy out the door, but it's not like he was beloved and people are going to be like, "Come back, we need you." It's like, okay, we're ready to move on and turn the page on the David Bingham era.
This is one of those relationships you see in the movies, right? Where oh, well, I know you don't really like me anymore, and I don't really like you anymore, and we're just gonna go ourselves, but we can still be friends. It's cool. It's a perfectly amicable breakup that doesn't happen anywhere else in the real world, right? Is that about right?
It's about right. it's sad, but it's true. It's like, we were together for a long time. It was that relationship you were with for a long time, and like, we fought all the time and we didn't get along. Why were we together for that long? And so it's one of those. It's like, you know what, we're better off. Hope you find love somewhere else, because we know it wasn't here.
Let's get to more Galaxy news as we sort of plot through some of these different things. And I have to say, it was funny. We were going over this pre-show and we're like, did all this happen since Monday? Yes, all of this has happened since Monday. Monday night, whenever we left you on the podcast, Kevin and I, we were sitting there saying, okay, we don't know what's going on with Diedie Traore. Remember, there was a post on his social media and the LA Galaxy were no longer in his bio, and everybody sort of assumed that he had left, that he was gone, and that the LA Galaxy had somehow removed him from the roster there, Eric, which, of course, on Monday's show, I was rightfully confused. I'm like, no, they just exercised his option. Trying to get rid of him is actually harder to do whenever it happens. But, you look at where Diedie Traore is, and there were some questions, right? Because he's basically left back number 3. And I think people have to be reminded, and I know we do it on this show a lot, but the starter right now is Vieira. The second guy who's behind him is Danilo Acosta, Danny Acosta, who was injured all of last season, so wasn't LB2, left back 2. He was, left out as it was in recovering. So he had that, and so he's the number 2 guy there. And so then it was Diedie Traore, who would technically be LB3, left back 3. And when you look at it that way, left back, Eric, is one of the most... or one of the deepest positions the LA Galaxy have, which is hysterical because you go and look and there's not really much depth across anything else. But right now, left back would be the place it would be. So again, looking at Diedie Traore and trying to figure that out. So on Tuesday, I think I was able to sort of find out that Diedie Traore was indeed still an LA Galaxy player and got confirmation from the LA Galaxy on that. I was also tipped off that there was going to possibly be looking for a loan move, but I couldn't 100% confirm that at the time. So I had to sit on that information, which if you go back and look at my tweet, I was sort of like, there's probably going to be more information about this later, but this is where we stand right now, is that he's still under an LA Galaxy contract. He's still a Galaxy player. And, more on this later. And Kevin, and I talked a little bit, and he was able to sort of track it down. And basically the LA Galaxy are searching for a loan for Diedie Traore. I don't know that anything is done, and that was not the statement that we were given, that, oh yeah, he's going here. They're going to look for a loan opportunity for Diedie Traore, and I think what happened, even though I was told that his social media post, Eric, wasn't mad at the Galaxy. That he's very happy being in LA Galaxy. I think what happened was he got mad, and then he realized this is probably a better situation for him because he's going to get some playing time and some minutes. So that's, yeah.
I was going to say, raise your hand if you've ever deleted a tweet or Instagram post because you thought better after the fact. So, and again, I don't think he's deleted it, but, maybe he realized, okay, not the move. And we've made this mistake before by taking an Instagram post and making news out of it, where maybe there's nothing there. So it's making a lot of news because he posted and there's a lot of speculation, but he just, the Galaxy exercised his option. It seemed like he's going to be with the team. So it seems like there's nothing there. But to that point, and again, I'm here bashing 2 players in a row. Don't mean to do that, to kick at a guy while he's down. But you have to think of how Diedie Traore joined the Galaxy. He was through an open tryout, then ended up with Los Dos, worked his way up to a first team spot. So when you think about it, big picture, zoom out, is the Galaxy left back position? Do you want someone who won an open tryout? Is that great story? But is that like the level of player that you want as your starting left back? Doesn't mean he can't grow. Doesn't mean he can't get better. Doesn't mean that he can't be a part of this team in the future. It's just that player who we need right now. So it's possible that they looked at their situation with Danilo Acosta, with Jorge Villafaña, and said, you know what, you're not going to be in our plans this year. When he did get his playing time, showed some flashes, but it wasn't impressive enough to really have people clamor to and earn himself a starting spot. So you think maybe you're better off. We're going to look for a loan, try to get you some playing time, and maybe he didn't take that news well, or that's how it appears. And we're going to see how this plays out in the future. Maybe he goes somewhere else, is able to work his way into fitness, look good, and then work his way back. But if we're going to be honest, almost every single player that we've seen go this route, where they're let go, they're put on loan to either another USL team. I can't think of an instance where we loan someone out, they looked great, and then we bring them back. It's great in theory, but I don't think we've ever done that. So this could be the beginning of the end for Traore, which is unfortunate.
It could be. I'll tell you why, and certainly there was some questions about why he couldn't go to LA Galaxy 2, right? That was the big, we'll just send him back to LA Galaxy 2 and the whole deal. There's nothing preventing the LA Galaxy from doing that, by the way. They could do a season-long loan to LA Galaxy 2. The big deal is that you have Cuevas down there at left back, and they're developing him to be a starting left back. And they don't want Traore to come back in there. And listen, I think that this is... I'm going to take the positive side of it, or the optimistic side on this, is that they want Traore to get minutes. He's not going to get minutes sitting as the third guy back behind Vieira and Acosta. They don't want to send him down to LA Galaxy 2, because if they do, then he's going to take minutes away from Cuevas, who they're high on as well. I think they're clearly they exercised Diedie Traore's option. They were interested in keeping him around. They could have gotten rid of him after last year. So I think this is the best way, and this may be why his whole thinking maybe shifted. And again, we don't know if that's true, but that's the story that comes out. We don't know if his thinking has shifted, is that, hey, I'm going to go here and I'm going to get playing time and I'm going to get minutes. And when I do that, that's going to help me develop, and then that's going to be better than me sitting on the bench not doing it, or going down to LA Galaxy 2 and splitting minutes with Cuevas. That doesn't work either. And so the LA Galaxy, I think, smartly on this, Eric, take a look at that and say, we're going to give both of these guys minutes. We'll develop both of them. And who knows? Vieira is not a long-term option. We know that because of his age. Danilo Acosta is coming off a pretty serious injury, so we don't know if we know that he may not be a long-term option either. And so that makes sense. Next year, you could go and you might have a starter with, Diedie Traore is the starting left back, and Cuevas is his backup. I mean, that's, maybe it's not next year, maybe it's in 2 years, that type of thing, but there's an opportunity there to make that happen. And so I think that Diedie Traore going on loan, wherever that ends up being, I personally, if it was me, would like to try to keep him local, because if you keep him as local as you can, maybe with, Orange County, if you keep him as local as you can, then you can recall him if you need him. And so, those are sort of the things that I think have to be, but I don't know that that's going to happen. And certainly that would be like best case scenario type of thing. And the Galaxy get back an international slot whenever he goes on loan. So there's that. They'll get... Yeah, go ahead.
That was going to be my point, is that Diedie Traore, someone who struggled to get minutes on the first team, is taking up an international slot. So if you're thinking they're going to bring other players in, that's a big piece of it, is having that international spot open. So I think that's a piece that maybe is overlooked. If you were high on Traore, that if he's not going to get a lot of time, he is taking up one of those international slots. And just the last thing before you wrap a bow and tie it on this thing, it's if you're Diedie Traore personally and you're looking at this, there are players who go and make professional careers in USL, and they're still professionals. It's maybe not the glamorous caviar lifestyle, but you get to live your dream playing professional soccer and have a lengthy career. So if you go somewhere else, land on your feet, and you're the starter at a USL club or a second division team in another country, there's no shame in that. That's living the dream. That's playing soccer as a career and having a lengthy career there. So even if his time with the Galaxy is done, doesn't mean his career is over by any means.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on Diedie Traore and sort of how that goes, and Vieira, who is apparently in SoCal. I've been hearing things that he's in SoCal doing a little house hunting. So we'll keep an eye on where he lands. But he's here. A bunch of people. Bond is here. You're starting to get people sort of gathering up and getting ready to have a preseason, if there is indeed a preseason. So again, we're going to touch on the MLS and MLSPA here in a little bit, and there was an extension. So all that fun talk about us counting down the minutes, because we would have been like, just 36 minutes left, and this could be the lockout. This could be the end of Major League Soccer, the beginning of the end. I don't think we need to be that dramatic, but we'll see if Diedie Traore can bounce back. We'll see if everybody gets ready, and we can see if we have a season starting on February 22nd for the preseason, and then starting in April. Let's get to some more announcements that kicked off on Tuesday. On Monday night, we told you that it would probably be a pretty good chance that the LA Galaxy would be announcing the rest of the coaching staff. We knew Dan Calichman was going to be there. We knew that Kevin Hartman, because we had talked to Jonathan Bond and he had mentioned him. Kevin Hartman was there, as well as the LA Galaxy goalkeeper. So you had your main assistant coach there with Dan Calichman, and so really you were looking for 2 or 3 more guys who would be coming in. So Greg Vanney announced via the LA Galaxy, that his coaching staff would be comprised of Nick Thesloff, who, of course, joined Vanny at TFC. In fact, this is, as we mentioned, TFC West, whenever it goes. And then Jason Bent, former Colorado Rapids player, played some other places in Germany and also in the UK as well. So he's there as well. So you have Dan Calichman, the LA Galaxy's first ever captain. You have Greg Vanny, who I think is a grossly underrated player for the LA Galaxy whenever you go back and look at him, and he's not talked about with enough reverence as far as I'm concerned. But Greg Vanny is there. You have Kevin Hartman, former LA Galaxy player, there. Now you're joining, Nick Thesloff and Jason Bent. The thing to notice about all of this, Eric, in my mind, is that you have a team outside of Hartman that has had success together and done things to be successful, with Toronto, and they're bringing that understand. It's not like on day one everybody's going to figure out, well, where do I place the cones? Like that doesn't have to, that's not going to happen. And so for me, this is bringing familiarity to the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, they're not going to go and check out coaching soccer for dummies. That's definitely not something that's going to be happening. So it's an exciting time. I really have, it's the off season. So of course we're going to get excited because there's no evidence of what's going to happen yet. But when you look at the resumes, it is exciting. Shout out to our good friend John, who said the Galaxy have signed Kevin Hartman, Dan Calichman, and Greg Vanny. The only unfortunate part is that it's not 1998. It's 2021. That's the unfortunate part. But when you look at their resumes, Dan Calichman, who was a captain for the team, I really love the video that the Galaxy put out where he talks about how he's excited to come back home to LA. He spent a lot of his time in LA, so to come and coach in front of his kids, and you could tell just with the highlight packages from back when he used to play, if you were, a Cincinnati Sixer like me, this is someone who, when you talk about grit and having it, Calichman is that guy. He is that dude. And if he can impart any of that, that's something that I think, if you think this LA Galaxy team has been soft in years past, I think Calichman is the guy who can, put a little rough around that edges. So that's a positive there. With Thesloff, looking at his resume, scouting for the German national team in 2006. I don't know if you heard anything about that team. They were pretty good.
Right.
So just having connections to that. Jason Bent, playing for the Canadian national team. So he has a really nice coaching staff. It seems like these are going to be coaches who know what they're doing. They have MLS experience with the success they had in Toronto. So I'm very high on this team right now. And that's not even mentioning Kevin Hartman, who's been with the organization now for the past few years in a few different roles. So now to put him in the coaching staff, we've seen what he can do in the goalkeeper position, someone with a lot of experience throughout the league. So he's going to be able to impart that wisdom wherever he goes. So you got the nice little scoop there with Jonathan Bond last week when he shared that information. So I'm excited. I think this is a really nice coaching staff, connections to the heritage of the LA Galaxy, which is always nice. They're not going to rest on that.
Right.
And I think the fan base will hold them accountable if they don't do their job. But at the same time, these are the type of people who, care about the club and want what's best for the club. So, they're going to try to do the best they can. This isn't a cash grab, a one-stop, try to, maybe we'll just be here for a couple of years. These are people who want to make a career and leave a stamp on this organization.
It's crazy to think, but whenever you look at this LA Galaxy coaching, roster, the wild card on this is really Kevin Hartman. I mean, which is crazy, right? Because the rest of these guys have all done it and proven it as coaches. Kevin Hartman is the guy. And listen, that's not a knock on Hartman. He's been doing a lot of different things with the academies. He's talked about in his video how he had a chance to be, a goalkeeping coach for other people. He just didn't think the time was right, but he thinks he's a very good goalkeeper. Please don't read into my wild card. But I mean, when you think about it, he's not even the weakest link. But if Kevin Hartman is your weakest link, Hammer, then I feel like you have a pretty good coaching staff set up.
Yeah, and I think you look at Greg Vanny, you look at Calichman, you look at someone like Robin Fraser, who was working with Greg Vanny up in Toronto, who's having a nice run over at the Colorado Rapids. It seems like he saw something that maybe he saw with Robin Fraser and with Calichman, where he says, okay, I worked with this person. I knew what they were like as a player. I think that translation would be good. And so Kevin Hartman, I'm sure, has had the opportunity, and you need to get your first crack somewhere. Robin Fraser needed his crack as an assistant in Toronto to kind of build those reps and then eventually earn the head coaching position. So if you're going to get a start, why not do it at a place where you know you're loved in a comfortable setting, and then maybe this could be the start of something nice, for Hartman's coaching career. So I have faith that Vanny has the eye for the talent and saw something that he's going to be a positive member and a good addition.
Yeah, it's again, it's kind of exciting times, and this is. It all lines up so well. I mean, the Galaxy have put this together to where I don't know how anybody can complain about this, right? I mean, Vanny was the obvious choice. We knew that. We thought he would probably bring Calichman with him. We thought he would probably bring some of his other assistants with Toronto. So that was all sort of set. I believe they're also bringing, the sports medicine guy that they had in Toronto. I think he's also coming down to the LA Galaxy. We talked about that way back at the beginning whenever Vanny was announced. So we have that. And then, and then you add Kevin Hartman to it. You can't be sitting here arguing, saying the LA Galaxy aren't getting right now. To be the point, it's not 1998 anymore. That's the danger here. And you can talk about, not resting on your past accomplishments, but that's what we've seen the LA Galaxy do since 2016. Is we're the LA Galaxy and we're 5-time MLS Cup champions, and that'll be great until people get 10 and 12 and 15, and then you're still the LA Galaxy with 5 MLS Cup titles, and you haven't progressed. And so somebody has to come in and push this team to be better than they have been. I think Greg Vanny sort of seems like the guy who doesn't really take mediocrity well. From my limited interactions with him, he seems to have that competitive nature about him, where losing hurts more than winning. Than winning is happy, right? It's one of those, and so you don't want to lose. It's not about winning; it's about not losing.
You see this with gamblers all the time. They don't remember their big wins, but they remember their big losses. So right. The poker hand that you got eliminated on. So, and I also made sure to caveat it before, and you make a great point. This makes everyone feel warm and fuzzy and feel great about it until they start playing games. And then if you start losing games, then those warm and fuzzies go away real quick. So I think that's when the rubber is going to meet the road, is once they start playing games and we see what style the team plays with, what tactics are being informed, and then we can kind of make further judgment along that. But right now, just feeling warm and fuzzy, and that's okay. It's near Valentine's Day. We can feel the love. Let's enjoy it. Live in the moment. Let's not get negative. Maybe down the line we'll criticize when it's time, but right now it's okay to love the picks that they've made so far.
You having Cosmo come to your house for Valentine's Day? Is that happening?
That's he came to my work last year, but they raised the price. They heard about the rich Galaxy fans.
I've heard that before. All right, let's Eric, I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story out of Argentina that we don't know if it's true, but God, I hope it's true, because it's just the magic of soccer and negotiations and just things. And by the way, I'm getting trolled on a regular basis by Boca fans who think that somehow I'm calling their team stupid, or that I'm saying that, the Galaxy, I keep saying the Galaxy are in a position of driving. They have some leverage over Boca, and I think Boca fans don't want to acknowledge that for whatever reason. And I'm certainly sure that they're not listening to the podcast, because they talk about things that I just I've dismissed outright. So this is the story we're going to tell you about, and this came out of a radio host down in Argentina told this story basically, and I'm going to paraphrase it from you because I saw it translated in Spanish, and so I'm going to do my best to sort of give you the highlights of what is happening. So the report out of Argentina says that the loan fee the LA Galaxy actually paid Boca Juniors for Cristian Pavon was not the $1.2 million that apparently was reported, that it was actually $600,000, so half of what it was, which is very interesting. Okay, cool. So already, LA Galaxy, you're saying, hey, LA Galaxy, you did even better than we thought you did. If again, we need to caveat, if all of this is true. So they're saying that instead of 1.2 million, the Galaxy paid 600,000. They're saying that Pavon's agent went down to Boca to sort of, they said player representative. We assume that's the agent, goes down to Boca to collect the money, because as a portion of the fee gets, a transfer fee usually gets kicked back to the player and into a certain percentage. And it's like 1 or 2% or something like that. It's not a huge amount. Sometimes it could be 5%, those types of things. I haven't heard anything above 5, but I'm sure it happens. I'm not 100% on that. But anyway, he went down there to go collect his money. And Boca says to him, he goes, hey, thanks for coming down. Again, this is me making up this conversation that they had, but they said, hey, thanks for coming down. Yeah, exactly. I'm painting the picture with my words. Hey, thanks for coming down. No, it was a long trip. Would you like, some mate? Can we get you some water? What can we get you? And so they sit down there for a second, and then he goes, well, I'm here for my money. And Boca goes, well, what money? And he goes, well, the money for the transfer fee. And they're like, well, there is no money, don't you know? There was a clause in the contract, and basically it says that if the LA Galaxy offered to buy Cristian Pavon, and that offer was rejected, that the loan fee would be returned to the LA Galaxy. That's an interesting clause. I don't know. And again, we don't know if this is true, but if this is true, apparently there's some bad feelings on the Boca side. Like they didn't read the whole contract and, Dennis Kloese sort of slipped this one in on them. But at the same time, if it's in the contract and you sign the contract, you got to read the contract. We all know this, right?
I think that's it's one of those like the terms of service. No one really reads those, but at the end of the day, it's what's in there, and so it makes you think. If that's the whole caveat, and you got to keep saying that if this is true, then the Galaxy did an excellent piece of business here because it gave them all the leverage where they said, okay, if we'll give you the loan deal, but if we don't get it, then we don't have to pay that. So it puts all the incentive on them, to try to sell the player to the Galaxy at the end of the loan and to do business with them. So I think Boca Juniors, for some reason, a lot of the stories that are coming out, it seemed like they really wanted to stick to that 20 million. And I don't know if
it's totally unrealistic
and a negotiation in bad faith, or if they just got the wrong impression, or if they thought the Galaxy maybe are good for the cash. And so they just assumed that they were going to push for that 20 million. And so it just seems like they want to stick to that number, and the Galaxy and Dennis don't seem to be willing to go that high. And it's when you look at it, who's offering 20 million, who's offering 10 million for Pavon. If someone was offering more than what the Galaxy are offering, I'm sure Boca would be happy to take that offer, but that offer is not coming in. So regardless if this story is true or not, there's not offers coming in for Pavon, and the Galaxy seem to be the only one at the dance. And so I think it's probably frustrating if you're a Boca Juniors fan to hear news like this and to hear that your club maybe didn't get the better end of a deal. And I think when you look back on Galaxy's past deals and some things where the Galaxy maybe got the raw end and maybe they had to fork out some cash when they didn't want to, this happens. Sometimes you have to bite the bullet and you get stuck with a raw deal and you just have to eat it. So it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Maybe it hampers future business, and maybe that's unfortunate because you do want to have positive relationships with clubs who have a record of having good players come out of their club. So it's unfortunate if this sours a relationship moving forward. But at the end of the day, it's if it's the language that was in the contract, if it was the deal that was signed upon, it is what it is. You can't fight what's on the paper. So good on the Galaxy for kind of sticking to their guns. I want Pavon here. I want them to, on the field, he was their best player last season. He was their MVP. If they can find a way to get him here, it's not my money. So it's easy for me to say 9, 10, 12 million, he's worth it, bring him in. But at the end of the day, they're the ones making that decision. So they're going to do what's best in the interest of the club.
Well, I think it comes down to, and if you read into some of the context of how sort of laid out the story was laid out, that story sort of comes out that perhaps Boca owes the LA Galaxy that money now, that they have to pay them, and so they're in the rears. So they need to do that, and then it also falls along, and somebody in our Discord was talking about this. That apparently there were reports out there that Boca still owe Talares, which is Pavon's previous club, money for a certain aspect of the purchase of the player as well. So it's not above Boca to just owe people money. I just think, here's why some of this doesn't make sense, is that I could see a clause being put in there that says, well, if you offered us $20 million, then we're going to tell you that we'll give you back your loan fee. Because, if we said we'd sell them for $20 million and we reject that, then we'll give you back your loan fee, because that's not really the deal that was in there. And so you could see that out clause in that. I think that from a contract perspective, and I deal a lot with contracts in the real job, is that either the contract was too broad in its terms that may have led Boca to think one thing and the Galaxy to think another thing, and that so they're both interpreting this particular contract two different ways, and the broadness can be a problem, or it was overly specific, right? Which was basically, it says any, if the LA Galaxy offer any offer, then and Boca rejects it, then you get this $600,000 back. So Really interesting in terms of that. I go back to what you're saying, though, because this drives the point home. And this is where I don't disagree with Boca fans. They say that he's worth more than it, so they're just going to hold on to him. And it's like, okay, that's great. He doesn't want to be there. Supposedly, that's what we're hearing. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to play in Argentina. He wants to leave either to Europe or he wants to come back to the LA Galaxy. And so there's leverage in that. And I think that that's something that is difficult for them to sort of wrap their heads around, is that, yes, the LA Galaxy, what I think they would call a minnow overall in the world soccer, does have some leverage over Boca right now. It seems that way. And so we talked about a $6 million offer, and I said, I don't know if that's true. In fact, it seems low, so I don't think it's true, but I wouldn't be surprised if the LA Galaxy were out there and said, hey, remember whenever we offered you $8 million? Well, here's our next offer, $6 million. And it's like, well, why six? Because the transfer window's closed in Europe, because you're not getting any money from there. And, I think Boca fans rightfully say, well, we'll hold on to him and we can sell him for $12 million. Okay, so I predict that his worth is somewhere between $8 and $15 million. That's a wide range because I don't know what everybody else knows in terms of the negotiations. But if you sold him for twice 6, that would be 12. 12 is not outside of my range of how much he's worth. So I'm not going to sit there and say that, you're wrong, that he's worth twice as much as $6 million. Okay, cool. I also think that the LA Galaxy, Eric, are trying to shoot for somewhere between 8 and 10. And I think that gets it done. So seeing this and the $600,000, this is where it becomes interesting, because you could go to Boca now and you could go, okay, listen, we get it, $8 million, that's our offer, we're good. And Boca's like, great, good, and we'll shake deals. They're like, cool, we'll write you a check for $7.4 million, right?
And my joke,
right?
That was my math joke.
Yeah, that was your math joke. Yeah, no, I mean that's a negotiation. I mean that's what happens in these things. It's like, cool, you owe us 600. We would need to pay you 8, so we're gonna write you a check for 7.4. And now you just saved yourself $600,000. Yeah, and everybody's whole and everybody's happy. And hey, we all have drinks and get your mate and we're gone. The Pavon thing's interesting because we're going to talk about a rumor that may blow Pavon out of the water and say that they're not even interested anymore. Yeah. But I refuse to believe, Eric, right now that the LA Galaxy do not have some leverage in this deal. They seem to be, as you said, the only person at the dance. Pavon's looking for a dance partner. He wants to get his groove on, and Boca's not that person right now. And so I don't know. I don't know where this goes, but this story, I hope it's true. I hope it's true. It's just too juicy for it not to be true.
But to your point, it's too juicy that it can't be true. It's one of those, it's too good to be true. It's just too tasty. All the details line up too perfectly to paint Boca to look like the fool and to make the Galaxy look like they ran a genius bit of business here. So the last thing that I'll mention is we mentioned the sell-on clause from Talares. And this is something that I heard early on in the negotiations, is that maybe the Galaxy were bidding $8 million for 80% and right, whatever sell on that they could do. I think this may be the time. Maybe you work something out. If you do offer $6 million, maybe it's for a certain percent of the rights for Pavon. And so whenever you sell them on later, then Boca gets it on the back end. So kind of like, I know we'll talk about the MLSPA deal, and you don't make the money now, but down the line, you'll be made whole later. I think right now, with the way Boca's set up, they want that cash now. They want to try to recoup those costs as soon as possible. So maybe that's not an option for them. But at the same time, maybe that's the only way this deal gets done.
Yeah, and by the way, shout out to Mike Gray. He says, here's $5 for Pato. Buy some Grey Poupon for you and Hammer Rich Galaxy fans. Thank you very much. I do like a good yellow mustard, like a spicy yellow mustard, like Grey Poupon. Yes. It is excellent. So yes, always with your pinky up. Just remember.
Yeah, absolutely. He paid for the super chat, so we're going to stay on this topic for a little bit longer. Yes. I think when you talk about condiments, when you're going to go for a brat or you're going to go for a hot dog, you can go for the yellow mustard. That's fine if you're at a barbecue. But if you have the choice, a good Dijon mustard, a Grey Poupon, there's nothing better on a good brat than some good mustard there. And as a Rich Galaxy fan, that's just an acquired taste that we've come accustomed to.
Whenever you were in high school, did you ever pull up to somebody's car and go, "Excuse me, sir, do you have any Grey Poupon?" Did you do that, like as a joke?
That was the original WhatsApp. We're dating ourselves here, but yeah, that was definitely a thing.
Okay, cool. Just checking. No, that's sort of what it is with Pavon, with Grey Poupon as well. Just trying to get this. I think The pandemic has an issue here, as this was mentioned in the chat room as well. And so, bottom line is, do you remember pre-pandemic, pay the $20 million for Pavon? He's worth like $40 million.
That's crazy.
Who is paying $40 million? Nobody is paying. Anybody could have had Cristian Pavon in the transfer window for $14 million. Easy. You could go in right now and you could do $14 million. That's not a lot in the world market, but they didn't, which means he's not, sure, sell him to some other Argentine team. Go ahead. Do it.
He doesn't want to be there.
No, he doesn't want to be there. So anyway, we'll move on from the Pavon talk a little bit, but if in fact this is true, does Don Garber cancel the GM of the Year award for last year and like retroactively give it to Dennis Kloese? Because that would be one heck of some business there, Eric. Heck of some business.
I think the story, since it came out in 2021, it goes on his resume to the 2021 GM of the Year. He gets an honorable mention, scores points. Quite honestly, I can't get off this. This is the audacity to put that clause in a contract. Let's just start there, which is, oh, by the way, if you turn down our purchase price, you're just going to go ahead. It's like you rented Pavon and then you got a coupon afterward. No, wait. It's like you got a subscription to Netflix to watch the Queen's Gambit. You watched them all and then hit the cancel button and ask for a refund. You picked up the phone and you're like, yeah, hello, Netflix. I'd like to get a refund for my subscription. Oh, yes, it was a wonderful show. She's nerdy, quirky, beautiful, and the way she touches the chess pieces makes me feel funny in my tummy. I'll give you $5 for all of them. And they're like, no, this is Netflix. You have to pay for the whole thing. No? Oh, well, then you owe me $600,000. That's basically what Dennis Kloese just tried to do. He says, Netflix, give me $600,000 and more Queen's Gambit. Can we have an add-on to that? That's a separate topic, different show. I apologize. I was going to say, you have a way with words. Shout out to the Queen's Gambit. What a show.
What a show.
Like you said, yeah, it made me feel things about chess that I didn't think I could feel.
I didn't know. I didn't know I wanted to play chess, quite honestly. Yeah. And now all I want to do is watch people play chess because I don't want to have to think about that stuff. Hey, shout out to Francisco as well. $5 on the Super Chat. Thanks, Francisco. Appreciate it. All right, let's get to Atlanta United. And why are we talking about Atlanta United on an LA Galaxy podcast, Eric? Can you tell the people?
For kits. I only show up when there's kit news. I know everyone thinks I wasn't on the show because Jonathan Bond was on and, he's quote unquote a bigger guest than the Hammer, but we know it's because you didn't talk about kits last week. So we're here to talk about third kits.
Atlanta United, as reported by The Athletic, and a bunch of other people now, Atlanta United is the only MLS team to meet the threshold to get a third kit. Isn't that exciting? So Adidas, or are you supposed to say it Adidas? I refuse to. I refuse to. I will not do it. Apparently there's a threshold, and that threshold is like 100,000. Is it $100,000 or 100,000 kits? Like how many? It seems like a lot of kits.
Yeah, I think with the markup on an Adidas authentic kit,
you'd only need to sell 3. Yeah,
you don't need to sell that many.
Okay, good. So $100,000 or 100,000 kits to be sold across the 2 primary and secondary jerseys, and that will get you the ability to have a third kit. Something's wrong with their third kit program if the only team that's big enough is Atlanta United, and that's a problem. Now, yes, Eric.
Here's the argument for, and I've seen this argument both on Twitter and on people in chat rooms talking about this third kit. It's when you have a poor looking second kit or you release just the white shirt, it's going to be hard to pass that threshold when people don't want to buy the secondary kit or the primary kit is not great looking. That's going to make things difficult. So it's going to be hard to show that your fan base is after buying jerseys if they're not going to buy the jerseys that are already out. So I think in the case of Atlanta, the jerseys that they have with their stripes and being a newer club, they have a fan base that's grown. They sell, I think their attendance is the highest in the league. Mm-hmm. And so, makes sense that they're going to sell a lot of jerseys, and their secondary jerseys have been good looking. They had their peach kits, which looked great. They were still white, but they just had the peach details, which if you're from Atlanta, when the connections to the peach there, the Georgia peach, you want that kit. And the kit that just came out, even the 25th anniversary, it was a simple white shirt, but at the same time with the gold accents, just feels very Atlanta. It seems like that would be a popular kit to buy there. So I think the argument why it makes sense for Atlanta is they had good looking kits. And so when you have good looking kits, you're going to sell more of them. That's part of it. There are Galaxy fans, and we've talked to them, and we've had them tell us that, I hate the kit. I hate the new kit. I'm not going to buy it. So it doesn't mean that you're not a fan of the club, but you just don't like the way it looks, so you're not going to buy it. So that factors in. And so I think that's why it makes sense that Atlanta is going to get it. And it looks like it's going to be wine colored. So it's going to be interesting.
That's from the Real Housewives of Atlanta, right? That's where it came from. I have to imagine that's where it is. Hey, shout out to John, $2 in the super chat. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. Okay, let's continue on the kits because Pablo Maurer, and by the way, at MLSist, yes. Pablo. Yeah. Pablo's great, by the way. Oh my awesome. God. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Calm Before the Storm. If you ever say Calm Before the Storm, you have to tag Pablo in it. That is the rule. Pablo did an article for The Athletic. He did one, and basically he was talking about the cycle that was going through with Adidas and how the kits are done and all that stuff. So the kits themselves are done on an 18-month cycle, Eric. So on an 18-month cycle, that means that next year's home kit basically is already done, and we've talked about possibly knowing what that looks like because there is a rendering. There is something that is out there and basically has been finalized for this cycle of things. In the Athletic article, Pablo, which by the way, I think you should get a subscription to the Athletic. I don't do this to try to short circuit Pablo, but I want to make sure you guys get the news as well. Pablo goes in there and says basically he was able to sort of see what's going on there. And he says that Adidas is basically taking more control over the process. So if you saw what Philadelphia did, which Philadelphia has sort of a fan-inspired, fan-involved kit, which is great. That's cool. I like those. The LA Galaxy's Los Angeles flag kit was technically a fan-involved one. It's still not one of my favorites. I understand it sits where it sits in the hierarchy of kits, and I accept that. It's just not one of my favorites personally. But having said that, Philadelphia did that. They got fan input. They had people, apparently they had fans signing NDAs. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that they went through in order to make it happen. What do you think? Have you seen the Philadelphia kit? Are you a fan? Or
I love it. I think it's unique when we talk about getting away from just the plain white shirt. If you haven't seen it, you could look up, Philadelphia Union new kit. Has lightning bolts on it, which is kind of cool. Kind of looks with the same colors of the former San Diego Chargers, now Los Angeles Chargers, with the powder blue and the yellow, and then with the lightning bolts. So it kind of gives you that feel if you're familiar with those jerseys. And then it has a kite and a key with, Benjamin Franklin, those connections to the city. So I just thought it was very creative, very unique. Doesn't look like any other kit in MLS. Doesn't look like any other kit you've seen out there really right now with a pattern. So kudos to the fan base for taking fan base input and for designing it and making it unique. I thought that was the direction after all the plain white shirts, that was the direction that Adidas and MLS were going to go. But it seems like after Pablo's article that maybe that was a one-off and not necessarily how things are going to be moving forward.
Yeah, basically Adidas says that they're going to allow teams to provide, mood boards and some original artwork for the jock tag. So This Is LA is a jock tag type thing. So you have those things that are there. But overall, Adidas is basically going to provide you two options after you give them the mood board, and you pick one of those, and that's how it's going to go forward. So Pablo is a straight shooter, and he's not going to sit there and blow smoke up Adidas's skirt or shorts or kit. And so saying that, he says basically, hey, just more white kits are coming. The white kits are coming. The white kits are coming. For the LA Galaxy, that makes sense. But when you look around the league, there's a lot of plain white. Look at Austin. Yeah. Austin has and listen, there's some requirements here, right, Eric? Because you need a light kit and you need a dark kit. And you need that for colorblind people. That's crazy. I know everybody thinks that's not a thing. That is absolutely a FIFA requirement, and it's for colorblind, so you know which teams are what. But having said that, there has to be more variety in this. Yeah.
Well, and I think the Philadelphia kit is an example because it's not necessarily, you can have a white kit, but have some shadowing on it. I think that Philadelphia, even their old kit, had the snake, on a background graphic. So it doesn't have to be, you can be a white kit, but it could have details on it that make it unique. And so that was kind of the disappointing thing with Austin. Part of that also is when you're an expansion club, maybe they don't have as much lead time, although at Austin, we've known that they've been coming for a while. So this should have been something where they're involved in the process. So yeah, it's uninspiring and unfortunate. But Pablo had a previous article. This is, as I knocked
wow, that was good. I like that.
Talking with my hands.
Yes.
On a podcast, just what we need. But he, in his previous article about uniforms, he mentioned this, how Adidas does take control. They have a certain aesthetic. He talked about with the LA Galaxy's kit in particular, they went with a brushstroke style for the sash because overall on all the kits that Adidas was releasing, they had the certain aesthetic that they were going with. And this is common in world soccer. You see similar templates, similar styles, because the year that this comes out, they all have like a unifying theme, or Adidas will have a unifying slogan, and everything's going to tie back to that. So that's not uncommon. So it makes sense that Adidas is taking control. It's just unfortunate from a fan perspective if they're limiting the possibilities when you see something positive like they did in Philadelphia, and how good it can be when you let people, you let fans be a part of the process.
All right, let's quickly. We're going to run out of time here. I knew there was a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. So hey, that's okay. That's okay. I like it.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not gonna complain. We got lots of stuff to talk about, and that's good. Let's get a little bit to rumors. And the reason we need to touch on rumors is we did add 2 of them to the rumor tracker. Now, one of them seems to be totally and completely fake, and I hate the source, and I don't even like talking about it. But this is going to be, I have a feeling, circling the LA Galaxy for most of the year. So heads up. The LA Galaxy possibly chasing after Manchester City's Sergio Aguero, and looking at a summer transfer. If you want to know if perhaps the LA Galaxy don't sign a designated player and they're holding out, or they're waiting, or things are happening that you're sort of questioning about what they're trying to do, perhaps this is something that should be sitting in the back of your mind. And he's now going to be 32, I think, by the time June comes around. So, yeah, as of June 2nd, his contract expires on June 1st. Sergio Aguero has had some injury issues, and we don't think this is real at all. We don't believe it. It's one of those that you sit there and say, I look at the sources and I'm like, no. So it has 1 star on there. So if you really want to get excited about Sergio Aguero, I guess you can, Eric, but we're not going to be excited about that right now. I just wanted everybody to know it's out there.
Well, we have Greg Vanny in the chat, and he's saying that it is fake. So it is
well,
confirmed.
Of course.
It's a done deal. It's fake.
I'm glad that we verify people in there, and can take a look at that. So let's go ahead.
The one thing I do want to say is that Aguero has been someone who has been linked that he's going to be out of contract this summer, and I think when you're the LA Galaxy, they've brought in Zlatan, they've brought in Steven Gerrard back in his time, regardless if you want to acknowledge that or not. You shoot for the moon when you're the Galaxy, and Aguero is the type of player who I think, when you think who's a DP out there that you can bring in and make a splash, Aguero is a name that stands out. And when you think of, the Galaxy has done business with Manchester City in the past, when you talk about Uriel Antuna and getting him in on a loan, it's not unfathomable that it can happen. So I'm a little bit more excited than you are, but at the same time, the sources say that it's fake, and so there's no real thing pinning it down. But at the same time, it's possible. He's had a run of injuries and hasn't been a regular starter, but I think that's the type of player who could come to MLS and make a splash and really be successful if they are able to get him.
All right, let's get to a real rumor now that we passed that. By the way, Aguero has had some injury concerns. There's a whole bunch of concerns that you would have with him coming from Manchester City to the LA Galaxy, but he's a big name star, blah, blah, blah. We'll see how that goes. Okay. The LA Galaxy are showing interest in a winger. Hussein Balic is an Austrian winger. Now, he plays left wing, he plays right wing. I watched a whole bunch of highlights on him. This is exciting. 24 years old. He's Austrian. He plays for the Austrian national team. He plays in the Bundesliga, but the Austrian Bundesliga. Don't be confused, because I was confused because I don't pay attention that much. Did you know the Austrian league was also named the Bundesliga?
Well, I did not know that, but I was going to say he's Austrian. Let's put another shrimp on the bobby.
Exactly. That's perfect. Great.
Where are my Dumb and Dumber people? I do know the difference. It's a movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, you date yourself, and people are like Dumb and Dumber. I've never even watched that movie before, which is a travesty, and you should go watch it. But anyway, no, this is, again, a 24-year-old who is playing for Lask in Austria, a member of the Austrian national team as well. I think just got called up in 2020, so this is not a guy who's been too far away. He has 6 goals, 1 assist, and 1,200 minutes this year. He is pacey. In fact, this report from Tom Bogert, and Tom is somebody who you can trust. If Tom says something is happening, it is you can generally say it's happening. Now, what he says is the LA Galaxy are interested, but that they have not given an offer yet, which is another interesting sort of aspect of this. And when you talk about him, maybe primarily as a left wing, if you watch this guy play, Eric, the funny things is he kind of reminds me a lot of a winger the LA Galaxy used to have named Cristian Pavon. And just in both pace, the way he cuts in, the way he takes people on, he has a lot of the same abilities that Cristian Pavon does. I'm not saying he's going to be as good. I don't know. Certainly watching him play against Austrian, level talent is going to be a question mark about whether or not that's something that can happen in Major League Soccer as well. And I mean, MLS and Austrian League may be a very comparable sort of look at things. I'm not 100% sure on that. But apparently, yeah. Balic was interested or getting interest from Celtic, from Brentford, from Southampton, all reportedly interested in him in January. This is a guy the LA Galaxy will probably have to pay a couple $1 million for in order to get, but if you're looking at a 3-year deal, that type of thing, you're looking at a 24-year-old who can play the wing, right wing, left wing, so could be a complement to Cristian Pavon, and probably a TAM player.
I like the idea that it's someone who's versatile and can play on both sides. When you mentioned his speed, and Justin mentioned it in the chat, and so did Bob, Austrian Antuna. And so when you think of someone with that kind of speed, but maybe with a little bit more touch on the ball,
yes.
That's exactly the type of player that you're looking for. And when you think this isn't a household name, so you're not going to need to break the bank and give a DP salary, maybe you can get him on a TAM deal and not have it take up that DP slot. That's a dream come true. That's the type of player you want. Someone who's pacey, who can play on both sides, who's going to be a threat, could complement Pavon, or possibly, if things don't work out, could fill that hole that Pavon leaves behind if they do decide to move on. So I think it's really exciting. This is exactly the type of, these are the names that I want to see, not your Agueros where it's maybe shooting too far to the moon, but this is someone, okay, this seems like someone who's gettable for the Galaxy and who would be able to contribute and be successful in MLS. So I like it. I think it's exciting. And shout out to LA Galactico for the super chat. $10. Thanks, sir.
Hey, thank you very much. So this is, I agree with you. This is exactly the type of rumor. So we'll keep an eye on this, let you know if we hear anything. Always better to ask about rumors if you're a reporter. Always better to ask about rumors when you have a name than when there's no name. Hey, can you tell me what's going on? Is not as good as, so tell me about this Balic guy. What are you guys thinking about him? And then that's a different question, and it can be answered differently. So always better to have a name. So now you have a name and it seems like a real rumor. So that's where you sit with that. Let's get quickly now to MLS and MLSPA. And I didn't want to again, I expected to do this show with the backdrop of a countdown clock coming for us, Eric, knowing that we were going to run out of time here at 11:59 Eastern time on February 4th. And now what MLS has done is totally ruined everything. I mean, It's probably good in the general long term, but they ruined because they pushed it back by 24 hours. Major League Soccer came out with this statement this afternoon. It said Major League Soccer and the MLSPA continue to meet daily to address the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the league in 2021 and beyond. Although we have not finalized a new collective bargaining agreement, a new CBA, and remain apart on some key issues, discussions this week have been productive and we have made progress. Since the negotiations have reached an advanced stage, the league has extended the negotiating period by 24 hours to provide every opportunity to finalize an agreement. 11:59 February 5th Eastern time, so that's 8:59 West Coast time tomorrow. So everybody get your beer, get your alcohol, and you can sort of see how it goes. Let's see. Some people are already posting that MLS and MLSPA have agreed on a deal as we've been waiting on this.
Yeah.
That seems like that could be a possibility. Eric, why don't you talk about this, and I'll search Twitter real quick and see what I can find.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this and the Thursday live show is that the news the next day is always going to usurp us, and it's going to be different than what we talk about. But I think the one positive from this is that it was extended 24 hours. Last week, they extended it a week, and then when MLS put out their statement, they said that they were far apart on negotiations. The fact that it's only 24 hours shows that they're making progress. There's something there. They feel like something could be done in the next day. So I think that's the most promising thing is the 24-hour window. If they said we're pushing back another week or we're closing the door and it's going to be a lockout, then obviously it's a done deal. But if they're pushing back a week, that's not a good sign. But that 24-hour window makes you think, okay, something could get done. And if we're believing and you're going to give us an update, I'm sure soon, it's possible they maybe didn't even need the full 24 hours. They just knew they weren't going to be done at 9 o'clock. So I think it's promising. Looks good. I think they're releasing jerseys. They released a start date a couple weeks ago. I think they're pretty confident that something's going to get done. So I'm optimistic with that 24-hour window that they gave that something's going to get done. If it's not already done, breaking news, shoot it, Pato.
Yeah, I was gonna say no. I don't have anything. I checked with. Yeah, I know. I checked with sort of the big sources that I would check with Paul Tenorio, Sam Stejskal, on that. And listen, it could be out there, and some people could be reporting it. The fact that they haven't, and I would expect them to, would be one of those things where I sit there and sort of say, okay, my MLS source is not as strong as my LA Galaxy sources, FYI. So I sort of have to sit here. I will tell you. That I do know who the player representatives are for the LA Galaxy for the MLSPA. That would be Dan Steres and Sasha Kleshton. Those are the two guys who have it. So if you want to follow them on social media in case there is a lockout, those would be the guys who you should sort of watch. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to go out and announce anything, but just watch them because they're the ones who will be in the meetings for the LA Galaxy. And we saw a plethora of support being thrown behind the MLSPA, NHL, MLB Players Association. So all the players associations, I think, from all the major leagues are in there. WNBA Players Association was in there as well. The USL Players Association. I mean, listen, this is what you do whenever you're a union. And sometimes I think that's all these guys do is just sort of send out letters of support for other unions. But it means something. Go ahead.
I wanted to mention that because yesterday I retweeted that MLB shared and the NBA shared. I think that's huge when you have someone who has a bigger spotlight. You know, we love MLS, we love the league, we want it to grow as big, but let's be honest, it's not Major League Baseball and it's not the National Basketball Association. So whenever you have those players associations tweeting out in support, that becomes a news story. I don't think it got picked up like by news outlets and was a big deal, but just the fact that it's being put on the radar, it puts a little bit of pressure on the league and to push things to get a deal done. They made clear that the players want to play, that it's not the players aren't holding out because they don't want to play. They want to play. They want to be made whole and they want to be safe and they want, to be compensated for the risks that they're taking, which is fair. So I thought it was huge, the fact that they got those other labor negotiations to have their back. And that's what unions do. That, it's solidarity and sticking with your union brothers and sisters. So it was nice to see. And I thought that was a huge deal. Just the fact that got out there and another promising sign that things were going to move forward soon.
Yeah. Just interesting times we're sort of living in. By the way, FC Cincinnati is out there making crazy moves. So if you're not paying attention, apparently going after Pity Martinez. I think they already got another talented Brazilian striker, a young talented Brazilian striker who's like 21 years old. That's young
DP signings that we're going to be seeing soon.
Yeah, I think everybody was joking around and saying, hey, FC Cincinnati, you're supposed to wait until after there's a CBA to sort of put this out. But they're building a new stadium. I mean, somebody on our Discord went through and sent out pictures of all the stadium construction that's being updated. And there's like 6 stadiums being constructed right now for Major League Soccer. That's exciting. So that means that there can't be a work stoppage. There's too much momentum. Too many things are happening. And so I'm sure tomorrow night what will happen is there'll be a work stoppage because I just said that. Yeah, it
has to. Yeah, that's the way it has to go. But shout out to FC Cincinnati. Not that we want another competitor in the league, but it looks like maybe they've woken up after their expansion years, and maybe that they're going to become a real team now. And their stadium is beautiful. It's one of the better looking new stadiums, so it's exciting that's coming into the fold soon.
Yeah, they got a new striker, and then it's Pity Martinez is the other one from Atlanta, which is just whatever. I don't know. It's craziness. FC Cincinnati is going out there and making moves. I mean, if you wanted sort of like the canary in the coal mine to sort of give you an idea, we always say that in terms of bad things, like the canary's going to die before everybody else. That's why, by the way, that's the history of that, just in case you want to know. The bird will die before everybody else because it's more sensitive to the toxins in the air. Okay, well, this is going to be is this a bellwether for a positive? The fact that FC Cincinnati suddenly is starting to splash cash, do they know something? Do they know the MLSPA and the MLS are sort of on the verge of getting something done, and everybody now thinks that there could be, a deal in place? And by the way, Travis in the chat room says, "Oh, well, tomorrow they're going to give us another extension by 24 hours." Great. Extended, but keep doing it, because that must mean you think that there's something close. When there's an actual impasse, that's when lockouts happen. That's when strikes happen. All those fun things. So yeah, that's where we sit. We thought we'd be counting it down 3-2. It would have been over by now. We would have been like, "Are we locked out? Are we locked?" Yeah. We wouldn't have known. It would have been great.
Crying. Yeah, we'd be crying at this point.
So see, now you can just cry on Friday night instead. All right, Eric, anything else that you want to get to before we get out of here, or you think that we're sort of set?
I think we missed the CONCACAF Champions League expanding their format, but that's not until 2023 anyway, and the Galaxy aren't going to be involved until 2023 anyway, so that news could wait a couple of years before we talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, so David in the chat room brought up any news on the French midfielder saying he's in talks with the LA Galaxy. Looking at that rumor, I am under the assumption right now that is a Galaxy 2 signing and not a Galaxy signing. We will see if that changes. But for right now, that seems to be where I want to put that. Okay, so that's sort of where we're at. I've asked, haven't heard anything, so I'm considering still Galaxy 2. It's why it's not on the rumor tracker either. I can't sort of nail it down. There is a French midfielder, and so we'll sort of see if that happens. All right, you're good. I'm good. We need to go. We have stuff to do. Tell people where they can find you.
All right, as always, you can follow me on Twitter at HammerEV. You can also follow me on Instagram at The Professional Foul. That's at Galaxy Profile. That's Galaxy PROFOUL. And then, as always, keep up with your Liga G action on cornerthegalaxy.com. Our boys Boracheks, we're down, but we're not out. We've almost rolled us.
All right, there we go. If you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at JGuesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerthegalaxy.com for all of our videos, all of our podcasts, all of our stuff is right there for you, cornerthegalaxy.com, including the rumor tracker. All right, I think that about does it for us tonight. For Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerthegalaxy.com. Let's see if we have a league on Monday. All right, have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.